be like with
Right
it,
on
like
it.
2 inches. Yeah.
Just like when you're singing, right?
Just
I
like
mean,
it.
yeah.
Back in the jug band days.
Yeah.
One mic for everyone, maybe.
Oh, if we ever got one,
Yeah.
we'll just share them.
Oh, wait, was there a jug? Is there an actual jug band or is?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there've been jug band competition. There's probably one coming up at Dovetail in May. again.
And you participate?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we did it at the Amazing Grace
Yeah.
for I don't know how many years. I went there for 22 years.
Well, that's why I
won't
wanted to
say-
invite Karin Kraemer.
I won't
you
say
can.
Oh yeah, thank you.
He'll make it go kuffa.
Oh yeah. I'm good. Yeah. I once made it sound like my friend said he wants to fuck his dog.
Oh!
It was super easy. Like,
Oh, you just manipulated
yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's funny. It's like
Anyway.
the old joke that
so-
the guy stops at the farm and he knocks on the door and the farmer answers the door and he's like, "Sir, I have to tell you, there's somebody out in your field screwing one of your sheep." And he says, "Oh, that's my dad." There you go.
That is a great joke.
You haven't heard that before?
No, I've never.
Well,
heard
what's
that.
good is we
I'm old.
recorded it because I never can remember
Did
the
you?
jokes.
No.
Well, yeah, it's recorded right now.
That's the only joke Tom always tells.
Her husband Tom just almost died the other day.
Oh my God! Yeah, last Saturday, not this one, but the one before, he had a what they call the widowmaker heart attack.
Wow.
And thank God for Essentia and ambulances.
Yeah, right.
It killed his dad when he was 58. That same heart attack.
I feel like that's how it tends to go too. It's like,
Yeah, it's genetics. a
yeah,
lot,
yeah.
You know.
Nice plug for Essentia. They kind of need it.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Seriously.
they're really struggling.
They were so good. They were so good.
Their building's falling over.
Yeah,
Is it falling over?
That's what I heard. I heard it's
What?
sinking or something.
No.
Yeah,
'Cause
like
it's
one
so
of the,
damn
one of the
heavy?
elevators doesn't work because it sunk so much it's bending the elevator shaft.
Is that serious? Wow, I didn't even. I didn't know how people knew it was. It was
Well,
sinking.
people that work there go, we can't use this elevator because it's bending.
Wow.
Oh my God.
I've been there way too much lately.
Oh.
I got some nice photos though of that day. It was foggy. You can't really see
Yeah.
anything.
Just really
Gotta go blast up bladder stones with my dad and
Oh, fun.
be the driver. And
good old
Yeah.
father-son activity.
Go
God,
father,
isn't it
son.
tiring sitting there doing all that? You're like waiting for them to do stuff to him, and you're like,
it's not. I think it's interesting. I'm like,
yeah.
this is like a crazy world. If
It
it makes me think of ants. You know, it's just like scurrying around on different levels and building giant, crazy things out of
Yeah.
sand that sink and fall over, and everyone dies.
Hey, but we had like the most expensive kick-ass view, like
Oh,
hotel
yeah.
room in Duluth,
Oh,
up on the ICU.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
My
On the
dad was
corner,
just there
looking up
too.
the
they've got
lake.
some
Oh
of
my
those big
God.
windows up there.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I
God.
mean,
No, in October he was in ICU for 8 days. So
Oh,
yeah.
oh,
Yeah, I
honey.
know where the coffee shop is. I know where the
Yeah.
It's like I understand
all
the
the art.
elevators.
Yeah.
I know where to park.
Yeah.
I don't need your valet. I got this.
Somebody can hand you stuff and you can help put it away in different closets and stuff. You can just work there now.
I know. It's like I even just like pull on doors till they let me in. It's like, why are you here? I'm like, I'm trying to see my dad. Like bzz, they buzz me in.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy? It was a
Where
trip.
have you been? The twins. It's not the twins anymore. The break room.
But they saved his life, so I love that.
That's the
There you
thing.
go.
They keep saving the life. That's
Literally
like, well,
did it.
and
Like,
I gotta
yeah.
say, everyone that I've met that works in just medical in general. I don't know how we got onto this topic right away.
Yeah.
It happens.
From the nurses to the doctors to just I like anyone that I've met in that whole giant hospital has been really nice. It's like vet techs, I guess. It's like why would
Yeah.
you do it if you don't
Right.
like it, I guess. But
Yeah.
I'm sure there's another layer of
Oh, yeah.
angry people, but they must keep them in the lower levels.
It's like they're publicly forward-facing, very nice, but but nurses keep going on strike and stuff. So obviously there's
Yeah.
some
Well, there's
something happening
stuff,
to them.
and it's hard. After COVID, a lot of people with experience quit. They're
Well,
done, and so it's all young
they're
people there
doing-
now. And that whole system is all brand new in that building, so they're trying to figure it out still, man.
And
you
still
know?
being worked to the bone because
It-
people are sick all the time.
Yeah, and then it just some of the people I talked to are like, it's really a far way to walk to do stuff. Whereas
Oh.
their
That's
whole
that's
thing
that's the
was
nurses
close,
were kind of lamenting about.
that it's
how-
a lot of running
yeah.
around.
It's
yeah.
like maybe it's like a health thing. It's like get your steps in at work.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Except
yeah.
for that guy that's coding in the back corner. You want to get there fast?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Can you just change that to a 1?
Yeah. Oh my.
Well, I don't know if you guys have met, but the reason I wanted
Let's do it
to
again.
invite my friend Karin Kraemer to stop by is she's amazing, not just in jug band land, but in pottery land and sweet human land and fun conversation land and all the lands.
Owner of Duluth Pottery Tile and Gallery.
Yeah.
For how long then? Because I know you've been in the West End location
Yeah, I've
since
been in
2017.
Lincoln Park since 2017. I had my first studio over in Superior next to the Red Mug.
Oh, was that the first one? Okay.
I think 2001 I moved into that building.
I think I read 98.
Well,
But maybe that's when you moved back to town.
Well, you made
Yeah.
made
Okay.
all the original stuff for this place when we opened in
Yeah.
'99. So
Yeah.
was it not Duluth Pottery in '99?
It was. I think it became like an LLC in
Oh.
2001.
You started paying taxes.
And I moved over. Well, no, I was paying taxes, but I just didn't make much. But
Gave it back.
I think
That's okay.
when I moved into that building, it was 2001 over in Superior.
okay.
Before that, I was working at the Duluth Art Institute in their clay studio, teaching, and that was my studio.
Yeah.
And so even when it was in Superior, was it Duluth Pottery and?
Yeah, but it was the Superior division.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
well,
that
yeah,
was on the
right,
sign.
right.
Yeah.
Superior Division.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's just a bridge. Get over it.
that's right. Yeah, I had a
That's
great,
a good one too.
I had a great bumper sticker and T-shirt that said that. It had the high bridge on it. It said Duluth Pottery Superior Division. It's just a bridge, get over it. But then when the bridge fell down in Minneapolis, I had to can that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It didn't go over well.
man.
It's just a bridge. Don't be on it.
Such a good
Don't
joke.
be on.
till
Yeah,
then.
exactly. Oh,
Oh, no.
scary. Oh,
Yeah, cartoon sounds. Ugh.
yeah. Ugh. So as we're speaking right now, there's a clothing sale going on upstairs. I think it's going to start being more regularly if that's something people are interested in. But anyway, some of the stuff is from our house, and one of the things that was mixed in with all this stuff was my social security card.
Oh,
And I don't remember why I
I
started
heard them
saying that.
talking about that
Yeah.
at the
Oh,
front
that's
door
why.
in quiet voices.
Yeah, and so luckily that was recovered. I remember now because after that I discovered that I went "Gah!" and I kind of yanked on my collar because that was like, oh my god, can you imagine?
That's a really old school analog way to steal a social security number.
Oh my
That
God,
is
no
like
kidding.
so cool.
Well, it would have been.
What would you do with it?
That's the thing. Yeah, I know
Like, do
people.
you really want this identity?
People do.
Really?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, you do not want this identity.
I always check all the pockets at clothing sales for $5 bills
Oh,
myself.
see, yeah, no, cash is one thing, but yeah, my social security number useless.
That's why you go to garage sales, man.
That's why. You just look for cash. You got a whole box by the front door. So before striking out on your own, yeah, exactly. You had gotten your bachelor's from St. Cloud University.
Mm-hmm.
Bachelor's is a pretty standard thing a lot of people do. But then you also went on to get your master's from Southern Illinois University,
Mm-hmm.
correct? What made you make that additional leap to getting a master's degree? Because that's
Well,
that's big.
well.
I think it is
I mean,
anyway.
art, I don't know. You kind of so I got my bachelor's in glass, and I got a biology degree at the same time.
Oh, okay.
And didn't end up in biology for reasons of moving around, following my sweetie. So when we were in West Virginia, I started doing clay because there was no glass for me to do there. And we moved to Southern Illinois when my husband got his first job out of graduate school. He's a biologist as well. And while I was there, I was like, well, there's no jobs here, man. So I kind of wandered over to the clay studio and started taking some classes for fun because I'd done clay before. And realized I could go to school again. But part of it was I was working at the craft shop there teaching classes and clay and all that. And they said, well, you can't work here anymore unless you're matriculating in a graduate program because this is a graduate assistant position. I'm like, well, I don't know about that. And they're like, no, we'll pay for your school. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, why didn't you just say that?
So I had to go through the whole process of
Is
applying
that
to
Champaign,
schools.
or is
Wow.
that-
No, Carbondale, Illinois. It's
Carbondale.
way down on the bottom of the state.
Okay.
Yep. Kind of Ozarky there. So I had to apply, and I applied to a bunch of different schools at the same time just to see, But I got in, and it was a good program. So I got to teach there and do all things in clay and forging and bronze pouring and stuff like that. And yeah.
Bronze pouring. Wow.
But I ended up
You
in
have
clay
cool
because
scars?
of it. Yes.
Yeah.
Mostly glass blowing
Oh, I
scars.
bet.
Oh.
But so I ended up doing clay, and I liked it better. Glass is fun. I worked in glass for 10 years, but you have to have really expensive furnaces and equipment running, and you have to book to make a living at it. Usually you have to do it with other people too, because it's really expensive to do by yourself.
And the lungs.
Well, yeah, I know. You don't suck in, you blow out.
Oh, you only blew.
but like, when you're
But I mean, just the,
whether
the
you're working with
off-gassing must
glass
be,
or clay, the silica dust is not good for
Yeah.
you. So you have to be really clean about it. But so I ended up in clay, but I like it better. I can work by myself, and I like making things people use. That's really important.
Yeah, I noticed you had said something about functional art, and what draws you, do you think, to practical art and functional things and like that?
Well, I like to eat, and I like to cook. I like to have people over and serve them food. And I like that the things they get from me are being used in their kitchen. It's like a segue to the art world. Like, this beautiful thing you're using, made by somebody, opens up your world to having a world, or a life with art in it.
Yeah, 'cause you realize,
And it holds soup, too.
You're like,
oh, yeah, soup. We should talk about the soup
this
deal.
thing holds soup, and someone made it, and someone made other things in my life. Well, someone probably made that. I this is another little weird tangent. I went to the Charles Schultz exhibit at the History Center. Oh. I was a little disappointed there wasn't any like original artwork there, but it was still a really cool exhibit. But I overheard one person talking about there was these light tables with a bunch of drawings of different Peanuts characters, and you would go with tracing paper and draw over it. And they said, "Oh, this is probably how they make comics." And I just thought, no. There's someone sitting there drawing them frame by frame by frame. Like Charles Schultz is just whipping them out or whatever. But anyway, yeah, it just makes me think of that.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, no, there are people involved, and I think that's a really
Well, and that's the cool part, you're like holding on to a cup like the one that you have at Beaner's, and you can feel where my hands were on it and that when I made it, and it's a really direct connection.
right. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
one thing that got me into clay more than other things is when I was in West Virginia and my husband was doing his graduate work. There wasn't really anywhere to work, so I started digging clay and pit firing because I knew how to do it from taking art classes and stuff, or art camp classes, and really got into it. I was digging clay, building kilns in the backyard of all sorts of weird things and making cool stuff. And a friend of mine went up to Pittsburgh to a museum, and we got to go in the back of the museum and see the really old indigenous art from America, especially the Southwest. And we were looking at those pots that were fired the same way I was doing in my yard.
Right, yeah.
And I could see this fingerprint on one of them from like 1,000 years ago. And I totally freaked out. I was and I realized, wow, like I can be part of this long line of people that make things for us to use.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
That's really cool. Yeah, especially because it's so tangible and practical and used, and so it ends up in people's kitchens and things.
And everybody used to fire that way. So it's kind of how I got started with clay, was firing that way and working up to having electric kilns and gas kilns and stuff.
Do you have a preference for type of kiln now that you've been able to progress?
I like all of them.
Yeah.
It's just a tool, but for fun, I really like wood kilns because you're really involved in working with it, and you don't know what you're going to get at the end.
And don't you get more colors because of the sort of the soot and the smoke?
Yeah, the atmosphere in the kiln and the wood, and ash depositing it on it and melting into glaze is cool.
That's why I like.
But then on the other end, the work that I do is highly decorated, and I know what it's going to do when it comes out. So, but I like that too. Just depends on what I'm aiming for.
And what is the kind of the range of items that you currently sell and make and sell?
Well, I do mostly for the work I bring to galleries and have in my shop and do at art fairs. And that it's an earthenware clay body that's glazed with what we call maiolica. That's a kind of glaze technique that comes from ancient Persia 2,000 years ago and been all over Europe and that ever since. And there's a resurgence of it in American pottery because everything is about surface decoration now. So I'll make earthenware pots, fire them, put the white glaze on them. That's opaque and it doesn't move, so it makes an excellent canvas or piece of paper to paint on, and then paint on that with more glazes. And then when I fire it the second time, I get the result. So from start to finish, it's a few weeks for a bunch of stuff. what I do is really highly intensive in the decorating part. Did that answer that question? I
think
just
so.
rambled on,
Yeah, I
man.
think so. And then I know another thing you do is, or I guess, do you still make mugs or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I know I come across them all the time.
And we're out of them. We need more.
Well,
Yeah.
they can call me. no, I'm just kidding.
I was thinking of that before this. I was like, we don't
I was
even
at
have
somebody's
these right now.
house the other day, and they were drinking out of one of those. Where was that? Oh, Mary B. But I also do stoneware things that just means it's a different kind of clay. And generally, some stoneware things are more you put glaze on it, and it happens in the kiln rather than you're decorating on it as much. But you can decorate on any kind of clay.
So you dug clay, and there's different kinds of clay. I don't really know. I mean, I and bricks come from clay, and there's red clay and white clay, I guess. But what is it? It's mostly just obviously the area it's from. Is it more sand in some, or what is the main difference?
Yeah,
I really don't know.
All clays you would dig up out of the ground are going to have some variety because they come from a different place.
Yeah.
Like porcelain is almost all quartz. That's why it's white. And it has a very high refractory thing. In other words, it takes a lot of heat to make it hard or melt. So it's stronger and more glass-like almost like dirty glass. And then that comes from deposits around the world that are really directly coming out of mountains and that. Granite turns into it. Granite also turns into the kind of clay I use. It's just farther from the source and more contaminated with other things. Everywhere you go, there's clay underneath the ground, especially where there's water. I think because it's the broken down mountains traveling a really long way and depositing in the low areas through rivers and ponds and all that stuff.
Compressed micro sand, I suppose, or something.
Yeah,
What
there's
is
some
it?
sand in it. Yeah.
Or what? Yeah, or
rocks and things, I suppose.
what makes it so sticky?
Usually, kind of, if it's sticky
It
or
seems like
kind of
clay is
plastic
sticky.
and movable, it's because it has other things in it,
Oh.
like organic stuff,
Okay.
or like the clay I use is earthenware, and that's the lowest firing clays, and it's the most ubiquitous all over the world. There's tons of earthenware everywhere, and it fires at a lower temperature because it doesn't have as much of that quartz or granite content in it. And there's other things in it, like if it's orange, when you fire it, it's got iron in it. Some clays come out kind of black. They might have manganese and stuff in them, or more iron. And most of them will range from white to pink to kind of a brown color because of those materials in there. And there's alumina in it too. So silica, alumina, and water make clay. And so earthenware is like there's the most of it, lowest firing, maybe not as tough. Stonewares are kind of like a porcelain with a bunch of junk in it. But it has different properties. A lot of bricks are made out of that. And porcelain's a little bit more refined, so, china and stuff is made with that. If it was pretty thick, it'd be hard to break it, especially if you fire it super hot.
Yeah.
So, like, my firings with my earthenware and my Elica go up to about, 2180 around there. 2000 to 2003 is stoneware to porcelain temperatures. You're not going to go a whole lot over that because it's going to melt. But it's a lot hotter than what metal melts at.
Wow. When you had your homemade backyard one, how hot did that get?
Oh, maybe 800 to
Okay,
1,000
all right.
degrees. Yeah. So you
Still
wouldn't really
amazing.
glaze in it or anything.
Like a pizza oven.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You're making me think of the empty bowl with all this talk of pottery, and I hadn't thought about that in so long. Is that still happening?
No.
It's not.
I so miss it.
For those who may or may not be uninformed, what is the empty bowl?
Well, and it just made me think about it because I've played some music for him before, and I had one of my worst mistakes ever at the empty bowl. And it was like all the potters would make bowls that would be auctioned off for charity, right? And then people would come and get soup and buy a bowl. Is that how it would go? How did it go? How did people get the bowls? They would donate, or how?
Yeah, a bunch of people made them.
All different kinds, like
Yep.
unlimited
And we
amounts.
had
of
like
kind.
a silent auction for the really good ones where people could bid those up. And then we had kind of a night before a lot of good ones that are going for the price they're worth. And a lot of people come to that pre-sale, the sea of bowls. And then during the day event, we'd have entertainers like Jason and our crazy jug band and all sorts of folks. And they'd have soup. All the restaurants would contribute soup. And anyone could have soup. You didn't have to buy anything to have soup and coffee or pop or whatever. And then you could buy as many bowls as you want. The ones that were down in the Railroad Museum, the train museum, they were all like, when we started, they were $15 each, and then it went up to $20 because inflation. But
Now they'd be
people would
50.
like walk out with stacks of bowls. Everywhere you go
Wow.
around town, those empty bowls are in their cupboards
That's great.
or their tip jar on the counter. So what was your mistake?
Yeah.
So the
I gotta
last
know.
time I didn't play the empty bowl, they asked if Woodbine would play, and I asked Vaco, "Hey, do you want to play this? It's a cool event." He's like, "Yeah, sure." And I'm like, "Okay, we can do it." And then it's getting closer. I get a call or an email saying, "We're having trouble getting people to sign up and play. Could you help?" So I helped organize all the music, and then I don't know what I did. I totally spaced. I didn't put it in our calendar for Woodbine, but I helped set up all the other music.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't know what I did that night. I can't remember. But for some reason, I went to Louis' for breakfast, which I never do on 4th Street by myself, which, I mean, it's like I never do this, and I don't know what's going on. I think I had a little headache. I must have done something rowdy. And I'm reading the paper, which I also never do, and there is a whole spread about the empty bowl. And I go,
I totally missed it.
I totally missed it. I lined up all the music, and I didn't. It was like probably the only time I've ever not gone to a show ever without like saying I'm sick or someone died or
my
our
gosh.
tire fell off the car. Or there's always been a reason.
Yeah.
It's the only time that I can remember just not showing up.
Is that the year when we realized we had a big hole and we called Eric Berry and bless his heart he came over and played?
That could be.
Probably. Probably.
Great.
I bet.
Well, there always, it was a volunteer thing, so we always had to flex. Like one time I got there and I was on the committee for years, so we did stuff. I ran the auction and that. And we got going in the morning and realized nobody had ordered like tablecloths and stuff for 50 tables.
Yeah, oh my God.
So I'm running around town, and I went over to the Sheraton and begged them, or to the Radisson. I'm like, can you just give us all your stuff? We need spoons, we need ladles, and we need tablecloths. And they gave them to us. They were lovely.
That's pretty.
That
cool.
was the cool thing about that event is everyone in town contributed. Nobody got paid. Everybody contributed what they're doing. The TV stations did, the radio stations, all the makers of the bowls. The whole town would like put out for this. And we'd make the best year we did. I think we did 75,000 for the food bank.
Yeah, it was amazing.
The
That's
worst was
great.
40. Oh darn! right?
Oh, yeah.
Only 40,000.
That was so great
Did
to do.
people lost interest?
Yeah,
or-
you know what? We did it for, I think was it the 25th year before the COVID thing?
Oh,
And-
It was a
ask.
COVID
And
thing.
that next year, there was just things with a couple of the institutions that were helping with it didn't want to anymore. But I think also, our whole committee was so burnt. A couple people had moved away, and and then we were going to try to revamp it, and COVID happened, and it just kind of fell apart, unfortunately. I miss it. It was so fun. That was the best run committee I've ever been on in my life. Thank you, Shay Morris from the Food Bank.
That's so cool. Well,
Oh my
maybe someone will
gosh.
hear this. Maybe some young potters will be out there. Maybe the next generation wants to help
Yeah.
reinvent this.
So,
I think it should make a comeback, personally.
so
yeah.
as a segue, who started that was Dave Linus.
Oh, cool.
Dave Linus ran the Clay Studio, and he and Linda Haben Street and a teacher, Deb Hanu, from the schools, decided to do this thing. They did it in-house at the Art Institute in one of the rooms downstairs. They made like $5,000 the first year. Like, this is awesome.
I mean, first year, that is
So
pretty
it
good.
just grew really quickly after that. And he's the jug band guy. He made tons of instruments over the years. And we had a band for a long time together.
Well, that was another part of like how I knew Karin is the jug band and Amazing Grace. Like when I moved to town, Amazing Grace was, I'd go play open mic at Amazing Grace, and the jug band scene was just so fun. And Karin would host like hangouts, right? Every week, maybe?
Yeah, we played at our house. We started, where did we start? Oh, we started up at the Radisson of all places. I met Jim Hall He's a local musician. And he invited me to this jam that they had Monday nights. And there's a few people that were in that preceding me being there. And I could hardly play. I'd just go sit in the corner. And they were playing there because I can't remember why, but they were just like out on the patio. And then they moved over to Bev's Juke Joint for a while.
Oh, that was a great place.
It was. But one night they booked Barry's band at the same time as our thing.
Barry Perkla.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so we listened to Barry's band, and then when we went over to my studio and played, and at that point, Kat Eldred, who owned the Red Mug, said, well, why don't you guys play here on Monday nights? We're like, well, how about if we do it every other night? So we did it every other night in the Red Mug, which was great because then anyone coming through town would come join us. So we met a lot of other musicians. And then the off night, we'd do it in my studio because we just wanted to not have an audience and all that, just play together. And then we ended up, when I bought a house, we ended up going to my house on Mondays because it was bigger.
Yeah.
We could make food and stuff,
Well, the Red Mug, if people don't know, it's in the old, is it the court,
It's
the
old,
jail?
Yeah, it's the old City Hall
Or City
in
Hall.
Superior.
And your studio was in there.
Yeah, it was
and the
right
Red
next
Mug
to it.
Coffee House is in the basement. And right now the Spirit Room is upstairs in that cheese shop.
Oh,
I forget what.
And the jewelers over there.
Yep.
And used to be a yoga studio there. We had that place filled up with cool stuff. We started a nonprofit arts organization there that ran for 8 years upstairs in one of the courtrooms. We had shows, and we got the first Wisconsin arts money from the state up to Superior in like 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Congratulations.
So we were able to give grants to artists so that they could increase their professional proficiency, have shows, and just kind of provide a space in Superior that hadn't been there for a long time for art.
It was a great place.
Yeah,
I
it was
mean,
fun. And it was great. Our landlord really let us do whatever we wanted there. It was great. One year, Carla Stetson, we had a May Day show, which is, we kind of made it like spring and about the labor movement in the whole world. And Carla, who is a wonderful installation artist and kind of big outdoor sculptor person, her work is all over town here, did a piece on the building for May Day that was, I think it was 200 red dresses. We put them all over the outside of that big building in 2 rows. And they were just flapping in the wind and stuff. It was cool. And it was a tribute to this woman who had, I can't remember her name, I'm afraid. She had been part of the labor movement in Superior in the 30s. She's a little diminutive woman, and everybody's like, you got to be careful, you got to hide, because those anti-union people are going to kill you. And she was like, screw that, I'm wearing a red dress wherever I go. So that was a tribute to her. And there's a lot of big labor strife and kind of the labor wars in that era history in Superior and Duluth. So we kind of honored that and had a big old festival every year.
That's great.
there was a lot of good energy. And you guys
God,
started.
we had fun.
And there's a
like it.
park across the street, and you started I forget what it was. It was not an art fair, but you had what was
We
it?
did have the May Day thing where we had the big, Terrence came over and did the whole pole dance thing, whatever that thing's called. No, not a pole dance. That's wrong.
Maple.
Thank you.
Terrence Smith in the
And we
Maple.
started a community garden there, so
yeah,
people
yep.
could dug it all up and put a bunch of dirt in.
Or like
and
a
stuff.
sculpture garden too.
Yeah, a
kinda.
sculpture garden.
Yeah. It was very cool.
It was crazy. We did a lot of weird stuff. It was super fun.
And then when you buy your house, Barry Perkla lived downstairs.
No, that was actually we
Or
rented.
no, when you rented.
Yeah, so Bob and Cheryl Husby are potters in town. I've known them since I was 20. I went to art camp with them back then. So when we moved here, I'm like, dudes, is there room for a potter? They're like, we have an apartment for you. So we moved into their apartment. It's down on South Street, right below Taco John's, and their studio's been there forever. It's an old boathouse. The studio's on the main floor, or it's like a boathouse thing building, and then above, and then there's a little cement block tube apartment building behind it with a deck over their studio looking at the lake.
Oh.
So we moved into their apartment when we moved here, and then Barry moved downstairs.
And I'd stop over, and you guys
God,
would be
it was
having jug band jams and
yeah,
food.
we'd be
and-
sitting up on the deck, and he'd get his guitar up there and his amps, and we'd play the lake, and
And you made a sauna out of pallets.
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. I love
Yeah,
that spot.
Yeah, that was fun because when he'd be practicing down there, I'd get in the bath and I could hear him. It was awesome. I'm like, I'm being serenaded in the tub.
It's so good.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a good place to live, but it was like this big, so we had to get a house.
Yeah, it was little. And it burnt down.
Oh,
it had a
Well,
fire.
we had a
That-
fire. It
it didn't
was
burn
sad.
down.
Yeah.
I feel like this is connecting now to that
Yeah.
Barry Perkle episode. It's just like, oh, okay,
That's
I
that
remember
part.
that.
That's why I
Oh.
wanted to bring that
Yeah.
up.
Barry
it's-
Perkle, yeah.
Yeah.
It was really fun living by him because he'd go off on his adventures and come home and we'd get the first story every time.
Yeah.
And you know. He's an amazing musician, though.
Oh,
Gosh.
yeah. After his episode, we had talked about his song "Alien Scrapyard," and then I went and listened to it, and it's incredible.
It's
He is
so
like
good.
the most amazing
It's
guitar player.
it was
Oh my God.
yeah, I was blown away as I was listening to it. I was just
Well, everyone
They never
who's heard
really-
it is at a car swap.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's
they
a
just
hot
didn't
rod
want to
swap.
travel far, so they just played here, you know. And so Jimmy Cooper was in there, and Lefty, who passed away a few years ago, was their bass player.
Yeah.
And before that, it was what were they? Super D and the Double Chucks.
I still have the shirt.
Yep, I do too. I got
And the
two of
Hoot
them.
Owls.
And the Hoot Owls, yeah. Was Jimmy part of the Dukes of Hubbard?
Yeah.
When we first moved here,
Yep.
we just started getting aware of that whole group of young people.
Timmy from the Turtles on bass.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
And Eric, shirtless man playing drummer. Drums.
Oh,
He'd always take
Actual
his shirt
Wolf.
off. Actual Wolf, yeah.
yeah, actual wolf.
yeah, Eric Pollard.
Yeah.
Take his shirt off.
It's like, put it back on.
Oh, no. So that's the fun side of school and pottery and community. And I think it's such a hard thing to tour and travel as a band. And I think of how hard it is to tour with a truckload of pottery. I've played so many art festivals where even the Park Point Art Festival, where all of a sudden it's like torrential rain
Yeah.
and 4 inches of water in your
Yeah.
tent. You know, it's like,
Lightning, thunder,
Yeah.
tornadoes.
it's like how many,
Awesome.
what's the farthest you've traveled with your whole pottery showcase?
Louisville,
You have been there.
home of the jug bands.
I just drove through there. I just drove through there this month.
That's a cool town. They have good food there.
We were on a no-toll navigator setup, so we went right downtown and over the bridge. And
Nice.
it was great.
It's a great town. I have a friend who owns 3 restaurants there, so we love going there because we just like eat our way across town.
Oh, what is it? The something brown? That's like the main thing they have there. It doesn't sound good to me. It's like
No, he like makes
Something
good
brown.
food.
it's like the something brown. It's like what Louisville's known.
Yeah,
Louisville. I don't have enough
Yeah,
marbles
I
in my
don't know.
mouth.
Louisville. Yeah, you can't
Louisville.
put any consonants in there. Yeah.
Louisville. You know you're from.
But that's
Duluth.
probably the farthest. I guess
Louisville.
I guess I've been out to DC.
for an art show, and
Yeah.
you drove there with pottery.
Yeah.
I just drove there too this month.
Yeah.
Huh?
That was
That's
cool.
so random.
That's got to be a little nerve wracking.
Nah, you know, you just
I mean, I
go.
guess you
It's a good
pack
way
it
to
well.
see the country.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I would just be so.
Got to
worried
have a
about
lot
that.
of bubble wrap.
I
You
suppose-
do,
Is that- yeah. Is it just a lot of packing and packing?
a lot of
well?
packing, unpacking.
Yeah.
But it's okay. Hopefully, come back with an empty van. You know, once
Right,
in a
I
while
suppose
that
ideally,
happens.
you're right, yeah.
Finally, you can sleep in the van again.
Yeah, that's right. You don't have to get a hotel room. But it's
That's the
fun. You know,
incentive.
you get to eat different food. And there's this, I don't know if it's like, it's not the same with music, but when you go to art fairs and you do the same ones, you meet people that you only see there or at other art fairs. Like, I never see them here. And it's this weird little subculture that's really kind of fun.
It is like that in music if you're like, especially if you're in a genre. Like when I was really touring long, 30 shows in 30 days
Yeah.
in the ska music scene, it would be like the ska kids would come out, the ska bands would come out. You'd all be friends. You'd all stay on each other's couches.
Yep.
You'd all eat cheap ramen together and cheap beer. And
Yeah.
it was like, yeah, you know, it's like everyone's broke and everyone's helping each other out, you know.
That's cool. Isn't that neat, though?
It's so
It's
fun.
kind of like the camper world, you know? It's just a whole little subculture of America.
Oh, yeah, we played an Airstream convention this year. And
Oh, fun!
those guys are nuts about
Ooh.
Airstreams.
Ooh. I've been kind of cruising those sites. I'm not a camper.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
Because we go to music festivals and we're camping. It's just like, oh, that sucks. You know, it
Yeah,
starts
it's-
raining and you're on the ground.
Yeah. It's one thing if it's dry, but
Yeah.
yeah.
What's
You
the
know.
worst memory, the most disastrous weather event at a pottery show? Because it seems terrible. Everything's so breakable. And you
Yeah.
have the little
Yeah, you have
flaps
to
of a
have
tent.
heavy stuff.
Well,
There's
too
a
many to
few.
count.
Oh,
The
no.
very first one I did was in Duluth.
Probably the worst weather town.
Yeah, it was like Labor Day. No one's in town. They're all at the cabin. So, of course, nobody came. And somebody we know set it up. And there was 5 of us there. And this huge wind came and knocked my display over. And every single pot I had smashed on the ground, which was kind of fate critiquing the quality. But it was a bummer. So we get all packed up to leave in the middle of it. And the
It's still an
organizer's
empty
like,
van.
you guys can't leave. Like, yeah, screw that. And we all just went to the bar.
There you go.
But no, we've been in tornadoes and
Wow.
lightning and floods.
Oh.
And
Oh,
yeah,
bet.
it's crazy. One time we were down in Kansas City. My husband and I were on Sunday. All these tornadoes came, like a billion tornadoes came. It was ridiculous. They counted like 47 the next day or something like that in Kansas City. And partway into the day, the organizers ran through and said, "Get out! You have to go. Tornadoes are coming." So we're like, I have never seen a show like packed down faster in my life. I was literally throwing furniture to Tom over people's heads to put in the van, crammed it all in there. And we got in, and there's nothing going on. So we're all like, let's go to lunch. So a bunch of us from Duluth and Minneapolis went to lunch to try to see what happens next. We had lunch, and then we're sitting there, and nothing's going on. No tornadoes. What the heck, man? Whatever. So Tom and I look at each other and go, let's drive home. So we get in the van. I don't know if you know what Kansas City is like, but
Yeah.
there's this huge bluff on one side and the river where all the cattle yards are on one side. And on the southern part of that, it's like a little Italian city. Brookside. We were at Brookside. It's like the downtown part of Kansas City is a mimic of an Italian city. It's beautiful because there's all this insurance money there. So we come around the backside where it's all pretty from the restaurant, and we come around the big old cliff, and we are on the freeway, and we see that the sky is dark green, and it's touching the ground everywhere. It's just like, oh my God, mortar. And we can't get off the freeway. So we're going, and we're like, what's going to happen? It starts raining and blowing and hailing, and the wind's whipping, and shit's flying around, and all the cars are pulling to the side, and we kind of went underneath a overpass or where a road crossed over the freeway to kind of wait it out to get to the next exit, and a 2x4 went through our windshield. We saw it coming, we ducked, and it went into the van and went into the back and broke the windshield, and we're like, well, God, now what?
Oh my
Oh,
God.
my.
So we went,
That's incredible.
we went to the next exit and went underneath like one of those big canopies that the gas station has because it was raining.
Sure, yeah.
And went in and we're like, can we
like
stay
that
here
could
a while?
fall
We don't
down.
have a windshield, you know? And there was a motel right there. So we're like, well, screw it. We'll just get the money that's in there. If somebody steals shit, they do. Go in the motel, no lights. It's just storming all night. Go to sleep at like 8 because it's dark, and you're like, well, you might as well go to bed. There's there's no TV. And we got up in the morning, and it was just beautiful sunshine out. And we opened the door, and there's just debris everywhere. And they actually came and fixed my windshield right quick. I was shocked. And we went on our way and heading north out of town. It was just like cars in the ditch and parts of houses on the road and like whole swaths just creamed.
And you
That's
never got a
insane.
nail in the tire or nothing?
No, we were
That's
supposed.
insane.
It was
the boards
crazy.
of
Just
the
a
windshield.
2x4.
Oh my
through the
God! So
window.
we go home and everybody. We didn't have cell phones back then.
Oh, I suppose, right, yeah.
there was
right.
no cell phones in the whatever 2002 or whatever.
You had a calling card, the 1-800.
Yeah,
957,
right.
yeah.
Well, so we get home and everybody's freaking out because they knew we drove into that, but they had stayed in the city. So
Oh,
everybody's
no.
like, they're dead. I like had a billion things on my answering machine. I
Oh, yeah.
Card, are you okay?
Beep. Beep.
So that was fun.
They don't know you're alive for 2 days.
Yeah. But you know, indoor shows are just not as exciting.
Well, like, how could they compete with that?
No.
No.
And so do you still go around art shows?
Not many.
No, okay.
I do a couple of studio sales that are like tours, like that St. Croix River Valley Pottery tour. That's a really fun one. So I get to see potters from all over the country, and a lot of people come to it, and we eat really well.
There you go. There you go.
So I do that more. My shop's good now. I don't really have to do a bunch of little shows anymore.
I suppose, yeah.
We have a lot of tourism in Duluth.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, and we didn't talk about your shop too, because when you were renting this whole time, Karin was always like, "Here have any buildings, let me know." And like, I
was
want to
ready.
find an old broken building to fix up that I can
Yeah.
afford. And
sounds like Molly.
you found a broken building.
It's a good thing I was really naive about it.
So Karin bought that and renovated the whole thing.
Well, you
and-
were my model.
Yeah, dude, insanity.
I know. Is that crazy? He's like, if he can do it, I could try.
No, but totally renovated an old paint store, and
Yeah.
Well,
my
yeah, and
gosh.
it does look great. It's on,
it's in the craft district.
yeah, 1924 West Superior Street
Yeah.
here in Duluth.
The Lincoln Parks Crafts District.
Yeah. Are you part of the Mardi Gras party?
The what?
The Mardi Gras party that
Mardi Gras?
I can't say it. Mardi Gras.
Mardi
I was thinking Laurierville.
Gras.
The bourbon or what is it that's happening?
I have no idea what you're
I
talking
don't
about.
know. When is or is it?
Is there a Mardi Gras thing happening?
I guess in
I
the
wish
craft
those people
district.
would
I guess
tell
you don't know-
me.
Yeah, right.
So not enough time. When is it? You gotta get firing.
Yeah, it's usually in February, isn't it?
I don't know.
I went there once to Mardi Gras, but I don't remember much of it.
I went there not during Mardi. I can't even say I quit.
It's better to go when it isn't.
It was so much better, and I just would walk by Bourbon Street and maybe look down each way and just keep going.
Yeah, there's better music because during Mardi Gras, all the musicians flee.
Oh.
Yeah,
You've mentioned along with the art shows, and there's lots of community involved. Oh, and the Empty Bowl, that was the other thing. And I know you've been around and stuff. Do you find that Duluth is kind of like, what am I asking? I mean, you know,
do we rock?
is Duluth a good place?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you? I mean, do you find it beneficial to be here to support your business? Like,
Oh.
like would it work anywhere else? Do you think?
Oh,
Well,
oh,
not that
yeah.
it wouldn't work, but
yeah,
like,
you could do it anywhere. It would just be different.
Right, well, I suppose, yeah,
I think
right.
it's been interesting. Like when I moved here in '98. When did you move here?
95.
Yeah, so when I moved here in '98, there wasn't a lot going on. The arts were not really happening too much, kinda.
They were.
There was some galleries
under
in
the radar.
that, and there was good music in that, but it because of people like Jason taking the challenge or taking the plunge and doing like out here. He did this out here in West Duluth. So like, you're crazy, man,
Right.
and look what you've done. You've
Yeah.
created a cool scene, but there's interesting things about that because there wasn't a lot going on, and I've been around a lot of places. It's easy to be a big fish in a small pond, or better yet, a medium fish in a medium pond here because there was a lot of room to make things happen. It's not like I was smart enough to know that then, but I've always just been eager to do stuff, right? So
Right.
there was a lot of room for if you did this little thing because there wasn't much going on, man, you could get the press there. You could get TV cameras so easy because they wanted some positive thing that's going on in Duluth rather than nobody has a job, you know? And there's been this huge transition here, especially through '08 and to 2010, you know, there's with a young mayor that we had first when Donnie was first in and focusing on making this town for young people be a good place for both not just jobs, not just school, but a place to live and have cool things to do and be part of community. That has happened in the last 20 years here, like amazingly. And it's a whole lot of people that have made that happen. I think it was like this mindset that went forward and happened. And because of that, we have a really cool town to be in. I mean, it's a beautiful spot.
right.
You can't beat this place for that. I've lived a lot of places that's just as good as everywhere else, you know.
Or better.
I could use some
think it's
shrimp though, but you know,
Oysters.
Yeah, the oyster. I miss the ocean, but
See, but that's
but
what you
it's
travel
cool.
for, right?
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like it is a really good place to be, and I think that's because so many young folks in our community have come here or were already here that have decided to make this their home and grow it rather than leaving because they didn't have anything to do. And that is to great advantage to old people like me because now I don't have to do all the work anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's really been interesting watching that change here, and we've seen it in the time
And the
we've been here.
community, I think, in Duluth. So you want to try to do something.
There's
It seems like there's a
support.
lot of support,
Mm-hmm.
and even like specifically in the music side, say you have this kind of band, but a metal band, but like folk bands connect and support each other.
Yeah.
And it's like there's cross support, probably because it is a smaller market, but the bigger the city, it's so niche, it's so sharp.
Yeah.
And you have to be so finely tuned to even get noticed. Where Duluth, I think you can have a little more, the pace is mellower. It's not LA. It's not bam, bam. Open mics are 15 minutes, not 3 minutes. Everything's a little slower, a little more open, a little more forgiving. And yeah, you can always polish and sharpen and move to bigger markets. But it's a sweet spot to be, though.
It is. It's really nice.
And inspiring, the natural beauty of everything that you can do in Duluth versus most places. I mean, you get all the seasons. Yeah, well, not this year, but
yeah, I know it's like
I saw snow. I
was skiing today. But it was like this much snow.
Yeah.
Well, and what's interesting here is we must be doing something right, because look at the incubator for music this place is. Holy
Seriously,
man, the music that comes out of this town
and you're
is
talking
incredible.
talking about young people. I mean, I know anytime I come here on an open mic night, it is full of young musicians who are here to support each other and play for each other. So.
And the movie industry keeps popping.
Yep.
You were
Plus,
just
there's
working
that.
on a movie.
I've worked on a few productions.
Oh, cool.
And just as like a production assistant, but it's something. And it's more are presumably coming. I haven't heard anything in a little while. Oh no, I did hear I just heard they're casting extras.
Yeah,
maybe
I saw that
maybe
in the
they
paper.
probably did that already for something they're shooting coming up, I guess. Among other things.
I love it.
I think.
Well, there's a
it's exciting.
ballet. There's a symphony.
Yeah.
There's multiple theaters. I mean,
Yeah,
That's what I always
yeah.
tell people when they ask me about Duluth. It's like, well, we have the symphony and we have the orchestra and we have theaters and we have all sorts of fun things to do and outdoor things to do. And I have bears in my yard.
I have
And
video.
that's
I have
cool.
video of bears in my yard, and hopefully there's going to be a new Palestinian restaurant opening
I know. I
soon.
can't wait. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's officially announced, but it's so
No,
exciting.
it's been in the paper and everything.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Out where the
New London Cafe.
Oh.
Is going to be Lila and her
Isn't
family.
that
Oh,
exciting?
well, that's
Yeah.
really
I
exciting.
wish it wasn't so
Oh,
far
oh,
away.
It's not that far.
I know. Well, and Tom works at the EPA, so you can pick it up on the way
It's
home.
just a long, skinny town. Get through it.
It is. Yeah, there you go. There you go. But another thing about I think why we work so well together is like when that economic downturn happened in '08. It's happened in a lot of places around the country, but it really did happen here big time. We watched it. People like Tom Hansen with the Duluth Grill and folks that are local business people wanting to keep it local, using local stuff and all that, rather than like looking to big box crap to come in and save our butts when that happened. We went even more inward and helped each other, and it created this huge local scene that's really rocking it because we did that.
I feel like
And
we're
it's
on
very
a different-
strong because of it.
I feel like it's a different timeline because of that too.
Yeah.
I didn't know things were going that wrong until I was like, why don't I have any money in the bank anymore? And then I'm like, oh shoot, everything's really expensive now, and I'm totally oblivious.
I know, it's crazy.
But I don't really like being a business person. I like to just have a clubhouse. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
No,
sure.
I always like to say, just so I can buy more clay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that how you guys view being a business owner? Is that it's like a means to an end? It's like, well, I'll run this cafe, but it's really just so I can have my space so that I can play music. And I'll have my storefront, but it's really just so I can make pottery.
I like it though.
You like some parts. You like
Yeah. I do. Like now that it's bigger, when I got this place and I actually have employees and stuff.
Wow.
Well, if you had to ship, say if
Yeah.
imagine if you had 20 other stores in
Yeah.
other cities and you had to organize. Yeah. All
No,
of a sudden,
no.
not fun. Not
No,
cool.
not fun. Because
Yeah.
that isn't the point of it. I'm still trying to get that bowl in people's hands.
Yeah.
And I really believe in that. And so the increase in the income for our business helps pay for all the people that work there now, which is great. I want it to cover that. But it also, there's like 20 other artists I'm supporting a little bit by them having their work in my gallery and me buying it or paying them a consignment price or whatever. I really like that. So learning to be a business person, and I'm not great at it, but I haven't screwed it up too bad yet, is it's not a price, but it's a tool for doing the good things I want to do, like having a little bit of gravitas to help those other artists make a living is really exciting to me because they should be doing that. Because artists and musicians, that's what they should be doing,
Right,
is
yeah.
what they love, so they can share it with all of us because that's the gravy in the world. But I like that part that it can be slightly organized enough for that to happen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like if I make money, I don't know, whatever, I'm fine. You know, but and the other part is having the employees there that can help them on their way to do whatever it is they want to do too. You know, we work together as a great team, but it's really fun having young people there and going, hey, you know, if you try this, it's going to go really good.
Yeah.
It's like teaching without having to deal with academia.
There you go. Yeah.
But it's fun. It's like, it is kind of that. You do the business part so you can have the fun parts.
Yeah. Well, I did the fun part, and then I had to do some business part because it was like, oh, you're just going to be done real soon if you don't start fixing this real quick.
And I had a lot of help with that part, so I'm glad.
Northeast Entrepreneurial Fund.
Well, and also
amazing.
like working for artists along the way, watching what they do was really good. I learned how to fire a pot in school. Maybe got a little bit of critique, so I don't make as many ugly things. But working with other artists that are out there making a living, like training me on how to do an art fair or whatever, that kind of stuff was really, I learned way more doing that than in school. School should teach you business because any artist is a single business owner.
Yep.
You know,
that's true.
so stupid.
Any
drives me
art
crazy.
school should definitely have like business.
You should have to take like a
elements.
marketing class or something.
Not even
honestly.
marketing, like
Yeah, even
literal
like
business.
how do you like balance your checkbook?
Oh, well, I guess
and
that
just
too.
like
That's just like
you would-
high school. You should learn that shit for your house.
and you have a
Yeah.
dream. It costs this much.
Yeah.
It's like you're gonna finance an album. You're gonna buy studio time, and you're gonna
Right.
mix it, and you're gonna master it, and you're gonna print it, and then you're gonna go on tour with a van and a trailer, and you're gonna have musicians with you in a van for years.
Yeah.
And what's your strategy to pay that back and have the band actually make a living so they can actually be a band instead of go, you know, actually I want to have a regular life and maybe have a family or whatever. But, you know, it's like it would really help if you weren't just eating ramen and natural light, you know,
Right.
on a ration.
Yeah.
I mean, it would really help keep the band together,
Yeah.
you know, if you
Yeah.
had a plan, you know,
Right.
any kind of business sense.
That's a good point. That's
But
a very
that's
good
that's
point.
some business sense there too,
Yeah.
because you're like, wow, this van takes a lot of gas. This van tires fall off, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
shoot, this
Yeah.
club said
And
they'd
you-
give us
and you-
500, but they only gave us 100, and we didn't have a contract or
Right.
whatever. You know,
Yep.
it's endless.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or you make all the CDs and you think, well, we'll sell them for $10 a piece, but then you're like, well, we need to mail them to the press and postage and a free album. Now all of a sudden you
Yeah.
put out 400 or your 1,000 albums for press and marketing and promotion and postage, and now you're like, well, now we just broke even if we sell
Yeah.
every album just to
Right.
pay for the postage and the it's like, but it's you don't know that until you're you know?
Until you're going, well, wait a second.
And then, like,
Every visa's
and then when-
maxed out.
And then when you learn it, you think, God, I hope I remember this next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Shame on me.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
so true.
Yeah, it's just dumb little things like, no, don't do stuff for free.
Oh.
Or when you
Everybody
do, make
wants,
them
when you're a
really good.
musician or an artist, they want stuff for free. Like when the hospital wants me to like give them stuff for their fundraiser, I'm like, great, then that scan I just had, you can cover that.
Exactly. Right? They
Yeah.
can't afford it, man.
Well,
in their
like
sinking
I
building.
don't know about you guys, but when you're an artist, you cannot write off those donations.
Oh, really?
You can just the expense of it.
All only expense. And,
So
okay,
you bought the clay, but not your
Right.
time.
but it doesn't cover my lights or
Yeah.
my rent or my time, my
Because you already-
35 years of experience.
lot.
You already
yeah.
wrote it off in a different way, and they call it double dipping. But
Yep.
at the same time, well, I could sell this for a profit if I didn't give it away.
Right.
Yeah.
And then in our tiny community, it's really hard because people want to go get a deal at the auction and then they don't get it from you. And it's like, well, the auction isn't paying taxes. You know, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, you feel like you're
I think
getting
it's
kicked
good to
over.
pick your battles on
It is.
anything. And so when you, like the empty bowl, you put your heart
Right.
into it and
I
it was
put
worth it and it
tons
was
into that.
rewarding. So,
Yeah.
and I think that's any business, any artist, anyone who is asked to donate time, I think if you really get to a point where it's too much, then that's where you have to make a decision. I'm going to do one a month, whatever
Right.
whatever it is, and then you
Right.
pick. It's like you curate it. I'm going to donate to this because I support this, or you have tiers. I'll do 5 big things, but I'll do 20 little things,
Right.
or whatever.
Right.
You
Yeah.
come up with something that you can still be involved, but you don't have to kill yourself
Exactly.
doing.
Yeah.
You'll run
and
out of
and
energy.
you want to give a lot, but it's hard. You know, you're not making much.
Well,
Remember when
yeah,
I
right?
first
Yeah.
started working over in Superior, I was looking to buy a building then, way back then. I've been looking for a long time. And I went and I figured out what my finances were, which was, beyond my shoebox and my ledger paper with debits and credits, and tried to figure out like what my business was really about, and figured out I was making like $3 an hour. And I decided to never figure that out again.
I'd rather just
Tina with
know.
her sourdough. I'm like, well, how much does this cost? She's like, don't do that. She gets so mad. I'm like, I think you're only making $3 an hour. She's like, stop it, dude. Never say that.
It's like
again."
2 a.m. and she's sweating in the kitchen.
Well, I know I've worked for. Well, my first job
yeah.
actually paid $2.75 an hour. That
Yeah.
sucks, but that was my first
Yeah.
wage, $2.75 an hour.
Oh, for some reason I thought you said you paid $2.75 an hour.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
I was like, that's a horrible deal.
No, that's what musicians do for exposure.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I remember somebody coming to me to do some fundraiser that I didn't agree with anyway. And he's like, well, you'll get exposure. And I said, look, honey,
Oh.
Honey, that's some serious
I could
talk.
walk naked down Superior Street, downtown Duluth, and get less exposure than I already have.
There you go.
This January, not as much exposure, but certain months you'd get a lot of
And
exposure.
he was like, it was great.
Judge Robson.
I don't need exposure.
Thanks, pal. Well,
Well,
I think this was great.
good. Babble, babble.
There's got to be something fun in here.
I think so. I mean,
hopefully.
it's been like,
Well, yeah, if you're around on Memorial Weekend, if we're doing it again, we planned on it last year. At Dovetail on Sunday is going to be the jug band thing again.
When is
Memorial.
that?
It's like
Memorial
Memorial
Day's in
Weekend, but
end of
the
May.
Sunday.
End of May.
Yeah.
End of May.
So, for a few years there, Kyle would bring his band
Kyle
when I
Ola?
first met him, but they're so busy now. But they were killer. They took it. The one here used to be at Amazing Grace, and the prize, was it the fish skinner? I think so, yeah. Yeah, it's the fish. It was a fish skinner, like catfish skinner. That you had to think. I'm thinking of all the jug band things I've been to, and the prizes that there were.
it's quite the prize.
It was, and it's like a board with a clip on it that you
Oh.
put the tail of the fish
Oh,
on
okay, I
and
do
skin
know.
it. Yeah. And,
Northern board. I
But
don't know. I never.
the competition in the cities, which is quite a hootenanny, and it's days now because there's so many bands at the caboose. It's coming up. I gotta go. It's so fun. The prize there is a waffle. Oh no, the fish skinner was up in Effie. So the one in the cities is a waffle maker, and then the one up at the Amazing Grace was a Kroomkaka iron. And so when you won, you got to have your band's name inscribed on it or carved on, and then it passes from. And ours came on like a big purple pillow in a wooden case and all this stuff.
Well, do you have to wait, or does someone have a Dremel and they go?
Well, you bring it to somebody or you Dremel it on, whatever. I Dremeled ours on.
It wasn't right there at the
Then,
moment.
and Effie, they had the fish skinner. And there's different ones around, different jug band and they're a hoot because really good musicians come to them, and then all these weird people come out of the woodwork. And there have to be at least 3 handmade instruments in it, like a gut bucket bass, a washboard, or a kazoo or something like that, like a non-traditional band thing. people make weird things out of all sorts of stuff for it.
Like
And
the
then
cigar
there's
box guitar.
fiddles and banjos and all that crap. And it's usually a giant group on the stage. It's hilarious. But it
I
can
got
be,
pretty good at miking up those wash tub basses.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I got them so I could get them pretty loud. It was kind of fun. It's like,
fun.
doom, doom, doom.
Yeah.
That's some work though. You'll take a finger off playing
Oh
those.
yeah. It
That's
depends
why
on
they
how
wear a
it's
glove.
made. Like Stephanie's is really nice to play. That Dennis made.
Oh,
But-
it has a different string. It's not
Yeah,
like a
she
wire.
has a different string on there. No, you can usually if you use the thickest weed whipper cord, it's the best sound.
I was gonna ask what you use as strings in that.
Yeah, some people use that, some use rope, but that's like
Yeah, I can't.
It's really.
yeah. Yeah.
It's not like. It's like
Yeah. The satisfying music.
And then of course the
going.
jug. You have to have a jug.
How many people have passed out on stage trying
I
to play the
almost
jug?
did once.
I mean, it's like I love it. I love
like
this sound. I
trumpet,
love
yeah.
this sound. I don't feel very alive.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Well, it's been a fun blast.
yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you for coming.
That was fun.
This will be interesting. Now you're gonna have to listen to yourself talk.
Oh, I hate that. Oh,